Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Gold and Silver 101. I'm Makai Block, Senior Director at American Hartford Gold. We're the nation's largest precious metals dealer, and for over a decade we've been helping countless numbers of Americans like you and I to sort through the noise in the market and to protect their retirement savings with physical, tangible gold and silver. And today I want to talk to you about, obviously, gold, silver, the economy. And I'm sure that you, like me, and all of us have some honest concerns when you look at what's been going on with the US dollar, the mounting government debt, this overvalued and incredibly volatile stock market. And you've seen gold and silver growing, maybe from a distance, or maybe you already own some, but you want to know more about where they're headed and whether now is really a good time to have them. And so we're going to discuss what's going on in the economy, how you can invest into precious metals, why you should, and we'll help you get to know our company and, of course, why American Hartford Gold is certainly the best choice for you when you invest into physical precious metals. So take a minute. I'm going to let everybody get settled in. A few more people join the stream. And while we wait here, write a comment. Let me know where you're watching from and whether you've bought gold and silver before or if this is your first time. And then obviously whether or not you've joined us on a previous webinar as well. It's always great to see people coming back. We try to do this monthly. We want to keep you educated and up to speed on everything that we see happening, especially as it relates to precious metals in the economy. So I'd love to hear from you there. Also, let me know what brings you in to join us today. Is there something specific that you're seeing in the economy that has you looking at precious metals right now? Would love to hear what that is. And is there something specific that you're joining us for that you're hoping to learn today? Would love to know that as well. So go ahead and just leave me some notes here. I see Catherine from Arizona, first time. Matthew watching from Los Angeles. Great to have you both. Sandrine watching from Utah. Karen from Missouri. Never purchased, need education. Perfect. That's what we're here for. And we'll get into a lot of details today. So Lena, Deborah, Greta, Ralph, Bill, see a lot of places, Tennessee, Mississippi, California, hedge against the dollar, first time, curious about it, great. So look, whether you're a precious metals expert, you've been doing this for your whole life, or this is your very first time looking into gold and silver or buying, we're here to help you get a good sense of how this works, what's going on, why gold and silver. We're going to cover a lot of that today. And before we get into the heart of today's webinar, I'm Makai Block, Senior Director at American Hartford Gold. My job here is to help people like you and me to gain an understanding of and invest into gold and silver and precious metals. And so today, again, I'm going to take you through the essentials of owning physical precious metals, why they really are such a crucial cornerstone of any well-built portfolio in this current economy. And that's no doubt why you're joining us today. Obviously, in our opinion, it's more important now than ever before to understand how gold and silver can serve as your financial safety net, because there's so much in this fast-changing economy that we see right now. So again, whether you're a seasoned investor or you're just beginning your journey, our goal today is to provide you with clear, actionable insights on how to secure your investments with gold and silver, and of course, why you should as well. Now, when it comes to finances, we're all very aware that it can be very confusing. And, many of our clients are unsure about how to proceed with their life savings. I mean, really, we're talking about everything you've worked your life to build up that's at jeopardy right now in these conditions. That's a very big deal. And that's why we're doing these webinars, to really help provide you with some much needed clarity when there's so much confusion and uncertainty in the markets. And we want to give you a good sense of why to buy gold and silver and precious metals in these current conditions, but also the hows, right? At any point in time during this webinar, if you want to chat directly with our account executives, we do have them on standby. You can call the number that you see on the screen, which is 866-607-2447, and you can have a more in-depth, specific conversation with our account executives. They are on standby, waiting, ready to help, and ready to chat with you. You'll get a replay of the webinar if you have to bounce out early, but just know that that's what we're here for. So if you just want to get right into it, call that number on the screen. Also, please leave your questions in the message board. I have some moderators that are helping me. They're going to send me those questions periodically. I'll stop twice during this webinar to kind of address those and answer them. And if you have a really specific question, one of our moderators might pull you into a side chat to answer that question more one-on-one. So just kind of keep that in mind. Anything that you write is very helpful to us. It lets us know how to tailor these in the future. So if you do have a question or a thought and you want to put it in there, just leave it in. Even if you think I'm going to cover it, it's just good feedback for us. And certainly appreciate y'all being here. A few more: Stu Chin, Catherine, Richard, Kim, Deborah. Yeah, great to have you guys. Should I do this now? Need all the info on if silver may go over the gold price. Okay, perfect. Silver's really increased since last year. Do you think it will continue? So I'm going to cover all that as we go forward here. So just keep leaving those questions. I'm going to give you a quick summary and we'll jump into it. Now, one last note. It's very important that I mention this is not financial advice. I don't know your situation. I can't give you specific advice. Sell this stock, do this, do that. But I can give you a very good sense of what we see, what's happening, what conditions are pushing the market and pushing gold and silver. And I think you're going to walk away very educated at the end. So that's my goal. So let's get into it here. Just this week, in fact, just today, gold has broke another all-time high. It hit over $4,900 an ounce this morning. Silver is up over $96 an ounce. Now, this is incredible growth that we're seeing. A big reason for the growth just this week, a large part of that is due to Trump threatening tariffs on the European nations over Greenland. And in response, the stock market started slipping and the dollar dropped dramatically. It seems that the Trump tariffs are back in full swing. They're a tool that we're using right now. We better get used to it. And the Dow slid over 870 points on Tuesday because Trump was threatening those tariffs over Greenland. Now, many of you may recall it was the tariffs that actually crashed the market back in April of last year. We saw huge turmoil, huge volatility. The markets and the economy do not like uncertainty, and that's what this is all about. So Trump threats also caused a decline in the dollar, and the reason for that, the Treasury yield spiked, which signals a flight away from U.S. assets and really a lack of trust and a desire for U.S. dollars and our debt. The reason, again, is the European nations, as they're getting threatened, as they see this posturing, they're saying, you know what, we just can't trust being fully invested in U.S. debt, U.S. Treasuries, U.S. assets in general, so they're pulling their money out. In fact, Greenland dumped all of their bonds that they were holding for the U.S. dollar. This is a huge move. And what it signals, again, is this lack of trust and a desire to hold on to U.S. dollars in this current environment. So at this stage, even our allies are starting to not necessarily want to support the U.S. financial system and not continue to view that as a safe haven bet. Now, the European Union is incredibly frustrated, and they're threatening their own measures against us. They're issuing their strongest financial measure, which is called the anti-coercion instrument. So there's just this back and forth, this retaliation and back and forth is a perfect case study in why investors are increasingly wanting to remove themselves from the traditional paper assets and markets, which are fully at the whim and tempers and sentiment, and rather they want to hold something that's real and tangible outside of that system, like precious metals. Now, gold ended last year up over 60%. That's incredible. Silver was up over 140%, and we're just getting started. So if you look at gold last year, we started at $2,850 an ounce in January. We had UBS, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, all talking about gold ending last year around $4,200 an ounce. Now, they were right on point with that. Now they're saying $4,900 an ounce by the end of January. We just hit that today. $7,000 is kind of that prediction by the end of this year, and then $10,000 beyond that. Bank of America came out this month. They said silver will reach $309 an ounce this year. So why? Why is all this happening? And it really comes down to a few things. We have geopolitics, we have war, political instability and doubt, the devaluation of the dollar, central bank buying both gold and silver. Silver has become a recognized critical material that is severely under shortage. We have foreign investors that are, again, losing confidence in the US dollar and the system, massive stock market bubble that's on the table right now, and gold and silver are being seen as the #1 safe haven asset for investors. And so I'm just going to run you through all these. Now, as I do that, if you have questions that come up, again, leave them in the message. As soon as I kind of walk through some of these conditions, we're going to get to those questions, and then we'll walk through the hows and the whys. So we'll talk about geopolitics first, and this is very big, right? We have the tariffs that we talked about. We have countries and governments that are posturing against each other, And really, there's this de-globalization push that started where countries are now beginning to pull away from each other and break that trust. Supply chains that have been established have been used as tools of coercion and manipulation, and countries are realizing they have to establish their own supply chains and really get control of their own critical materials as well. So this is huge. And here's the Trump administration and Greenland situation that's also causing that. That's a big piece of it. And so geopolitics are starting to cause a drive into precious metals for countries to shore up their own financial system, right? So there's a big push to buy gold and silver right now. Wars have been a huge issue. We still have Russia and Ukraine that's just battling on. The Middle East, there's plenty of tension rising there. And then, of course, what we saw earlier this year with the U.S. going into Venezuela, pulling out Maduro, there's just a lot of tension around the world right now. And that uncertainty, again, will cause investors and large institutions to push into precious metals. Now, the biggest one here is going to be the devaluation of the dollar, right? The US dollar just had the worst year in 52 years. It was down 11% last year, which means that yours and my purchasing power, we lost 11% out of it just in a year. It seems the whole world is walking away from the US dollar as the world reserve currency right now. The Trump administration is also actively devaluing the dollar and cutting interest rates. They're working to turn the US into a manufacturing and a producing nation that exports, and we need a weaker dollar in order for that to happen. So every condition is working towards the dollar losing value and losing its, kind of purchasing power for you and I. US debt has hit $38 trillion. We added the fastest $1 trillion to that debt since the pandemic last year. So each year we're running a minimum of $2 trillion in deficit, which means we spend $2 trillion more than what we're taking in, and we're adding that $2 trillion to the deficit. So I want you to think about this. In just 10 years, from 38 trillion now, for 10 years, adding 2 trillion a year, we're gonna be at nearly $60 trillion of debt. That number is astronomical. I mean, we can't even fathom what that looks like. So what's going to be left of the US dollar? And there's this overall loss of confidence in where the US is taking its system when we're mounting that kind of debt. Now, we also have central banks that are loading into gold right now. 96% of central banks are buying gold and adding to their positions. This is the highest number of banks in history, and they're actually buying record amounts of gold right now as well. They're preparing for this world where fiat currency is ending. So far, this has been a 5-year trend where they're just increasing the amount of buying every single year for the last 5 years. Now, 16% of those central banks are decreasing their exposure to the US dollar. Last year, that was 11%. So this is a worrying trend where banks, again, are de-dollarizing, and the dollar is the only currency that they're decreasing their exposure to. And now, for the first time in 3 decades, gold is actually the #1 holding in foreign reserves. It's replaced the dollar. So we're holding more gold in foreign reserves than what we're holding as far as US dollars and bonds and debt goes for the first time in 30 years. So huge issues with the dollar being the world reserve currency and that trend pointing downward. Okay, we have big Wall Street institutions and names and legendary investors that are warning us about this currency crisis that we're walking into. Now, silver, I'm sure, has caught all of our attention. If you haven't been paying attention, it's up again over 140% last year. We're having a huge run on it, but silver has become a critical material, right? We started last year with silver just starting to kind of wake up and catch up. But now it's shifting where silver is far outperforming gold, and it's really beginning to run. The previous all-time high on silver from the 1980s was $50 an ounce. Now, we hit that back in December. We're already at $96 an ounce today, so that momentum is starting to catch in, but we're actually very early with where silver is headed. It's really interesting. If you take that $50 an ounce from the 1980s and you adjust that number for inflation today, that would put silver around $209 an ounce, even just to catch up to the momentum that the rest of the market has done. That's the inflation adjusted high. So we're still very undervalued while silver's sitting around the 90s. Okay, now you also look at silver as kind of the catch up, right? Gold is always going to move the market first, and then silver has to catch up. There's this natural ratio between silver and gold of 16-1. So 16 ounces of silver should equal 1 ounce of gold. We're at about 50-1 right now. So still very undervalued compared to where gold is. Now, if you take that 16-to-1 ratio, that would put silver about $300 an ounce, even if gold doesn't go another dollar higher. So every trend that we see says that silver has to make a huge run here. But what's very interesting is 80% of the silver usage is going to industry. It's to the point that we're using 250 million more ounces per year than what we're able to pull out of the ground by mining. So we've ran that deficit for 5 years now. We're eating into the above ground supply of silver at a rate that's incredibly unsustainable. And what you see happening is economists are warning we're going to run out of silver above ground in the next 5 to 7 years. And in order to increase mining and increase that production to meet that demand, you think about AI, space race, robotics, data centers, everything, electric vehicles and solar. This is using more and more of that silver, so that demand is continuing to go up. But it's over $120 an ounce just to get silver out of the ground. So again, every condition that we see says that silver has to run. It's probably one of the best investments we could possibly make over the next decade just because of the fundamentals. And then it's worth noting that central banks have started to buy silver as well. This started with Russia and China. Now the Western world is starting to follow suit. They realize how critical silver is for economies, for industries, and they're starting to load up on silver. So when you look at gold versus silver, you have two options: gold for preservation and stability, silver for growth. We're starting to see that growth out of the silver. And then you just want to kind of talk to one of our account executives of how to position your account right for preservation versus a little bit more risky growth on the silver side, but both metals doing incredibly well. We also, again, I just want to talk about foreign investors that are losing confidence in the dollar, in US bonds and US debt. We have the tariffs that are shaking things up. There's dollar sanctions that we've used. There's political turmoil and government debt. There's foreign investors that are just less inclined to have exposure to the dollar than they've ever been. They're no longer buying our debt in the ways that they always have, and this causes the US to raise our yields on the bonds that we issue to try and entice investors to come over and buy more. But what that does is it actually costs us more to service our debt. We're already paying $1 trillion a year just to service that $38 trillion of debt that we have. So as we issue more and more debt, trying to get the world to buy it, and we're having to put higher rates on that debt, it costs us more and more. This is a self-defeating cycle. It's a currency crisis that Ray Dalio and Jamie Dimon are warning us about. It's a debt doom loop that's really inescapable, and we're right on the precipice of that. Now, Ray Dalio is famous for saying, look, if you think it's bad right now, wait until we can't find anybody to buy our debt. And that's what we're starting to see happen in the world as foreign investors pull away. It's not just them versus us. It's a huge issue for our standing in the world and how the dollar relates. And that's why investors are flocking to real money, which is gold and silver. I hope that's making sense for you guys. Now, a couple more points to run through. The stock market is the most overvalued the S&P 500 has been in American history by every single measure that economists look at. The average stock on the S&P is trading 535% greater than its book value. In 1929, that was 400%. And so I want to drive this home. We're more overvalued today than during the Great Depression. So there's tremendous amounts of risk, right? Stocks are at all-time high, gold and silver at all-time highs. The higher that the stock market goes, it's building in more and more downside risk, it seems. The higher that gold and silver go, they're building in a strong foundation against the current conditions. And this is the largest bubble in American history. It's really 12 companies that are driving the S&P 500 to new all-time highs, and they're all wrapped up in the AI play right now, and it's just circular revenue. These companies are paying each other, so there's no real generation of real revenue. OpenAI, for instance, will lose $140 billion before it has a chance to even turn a single dollar of profit. And so you have to ask yourself, with numbers like that, how sustainable is this system that we're seeing that's pushing the market up? I talk to a lot of investors that are comfortable in the market. They see it performing for them. But you look at it, the stock market is far underperforming gold and silver, and it's far more risky than what we see on precious metals. And you just think, how sustainable, how long can that last? It's giving a lot of investors pause. And so again, this is being called the biggest bubble in American history. It's maybe something we want to start taking stock of how do we want to position ourselves for the next stage of the market. So money is flowing into precious metals, and it's coming from institutions, it's coming from central banks, and it's coming from private individuals alike. Now, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent said that gold, at the start of last year, he said, gold is my #1 holding in my portfolio. I think that every American should have it. It's going to do incredibly well moving forward. That's worth paying attention to. Banks are starting to tell their clients to hedge 20 to 30% of their portfolios into gold. Why would banks tell us that? It's because they see the conditions. You have to wonder what's really going on behind the scenes. And when banks start telling you to buy gold and silver, that's when you know that we have a problem, right? Gold and silver, this tried and true and trusted asset for safety and stability in economic crises and risky markets, and we see that playing out. I mean, we don't even have a financial crisis on the table, and look at how gold and silver are performing. Imagine if something in that system breaks, where gold and silver will go to. And so even though precious metals have been growing and doing amazing, we're not finished with where they're headed. We're still getting started and very early on. And again, I like to say that it's kind of that second or third inning out of a 9-inning game overall. So even if you think that gold and silver have moved and you may be late to the game, you're not at all. We're very early. We're just getting started. And I'm going to read you just a couple of gold projections, and then I'm going to get some of your questions here. I see some great ones coming in. But just so you know, it's not just my opinion that gold and silver are going higher. Here are the 2026 analyst gold prices. So Julia Du, who's a senior commodity strategist at ICBC Standard Bank, sees gold prices pushing to $71.50 an ounce this year. Jefferies Group says 6,600, which would be a 52% increase from where we're at today. The Ardeni Group, $6,000 an ounce. UBS, about 5,400. And then JP Morgan, Schwab, Bank of America, ANZ, Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley are all saying $5,000 an ounce, which is about 15% up today. So look, that's worst case scenario, and we're already approaching $5,000 an ounce just today, right? So I can't even keep up with these bank projections. They put articles out, they give us their projection of where gold's headed, and within a week, they're having to revise those because metals are moving. Bank of America, again, says $309 an ounce for silver. Michelle Widmer, who's the head of metal research at Bank of America, is saying if silver runs anything like we've seen in the past, it'll end the year about $309 an ounce. So these are huge projections. Again, we're very early. Just a couple more for you before we get into it. Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan Chase, came out and he said, I don't often say this, but this is one of those times that you as an investor need gold. To see gold hit $7,000 an ounce or $10,000 an ounce, yeah, that's going to happen, right? Goldman Sachs reiterated that it's very bullish on gold, and it called gold its highest conviction trade. So when the major banks are saying that gold is where we need to look, again, that should build a lot of confidence in you as you're watching this, that you're looking in the right direction. And I just want you to ask yourself, how do you feel about the current state of the market and the economy? If you're concerned, if you're honest with yourself and you say, I don't feel very comfortable with how I'm positioned, this would be a great time to get a hedge with precious metals. In fact, in our opinion, looking at the economic landscape, this is hands down the most important time ever to own precious metals. And as long as we're devaluing our dollar, gold will keep going up against that, and silver will follow. And so we're going to talk about how to do that. But first, let's get to your questions. So if anything that I've covered doesn't make sense, you have questions on that, throw them in the chat right now. We'll get into that. And I just want to remind you that you can call us now at 866-607-2447. We can discuss all of this and more in more detail with you and get into your personal situation, what's right for you on how to position yourself into gold and silver. We do have account executives on standby waiting to help. And so feel free to call us directly now, and we'll get right into it and help you get into how to protect yourself with gold and silver. So I'll get into the questions, and then we'll talk about the actual how part. How do we invest? We know that you want to. We see the concern in the market. Now, how do we do it? So appreciate you guys posting these. Patricia says, I want to move money from equities to physical gold and silver. What percentage of each would you recommend? Is silver expected to rise faster than gold? So yeah, at this stage, Patricia, gold is still going to go forward pretty dramatically, but silver will always outperform, and we're starting to see that happen. So right now, a lot of clients are focused heavier on silver. That might just be for the shorter term. We can always get you more into stability of gold down the road, but silver does have a little bit better outlook than gold right now. Most clients will do a 60-40 split one way or the other. right? It's never a one size fits all. And so I would really encourage you, if you're interested in taking this step, call the number, talk to our account executives, and they'll actually build out a portfolio and talk to you about what's best there. Brian says, can a gold IRA also hold silver? Absolutely. You can have any precious metal in there, gold, silver, platinum, palladium. We really focus on gold and silver primarily in these conditions, but you can hold it all in a gold IRA. Deborah, at age 78, should I do this now? Deborah, I don't think there's ever been a better time to protect your retirement savings with all that we're facing. So it doesn't matter your age. We're in a fast-moving market for gold and silver. It's a great time to jump in. Kim says, need info on silver may go over the price of gold due to AI. So I don't know that silver is going to jump higher than the gold price, right? Gold is $5,000 an ounce. I don't see silver getting there, but as far as performance with everything going on in AI, silver has been outperforming gold and should in the shorter term. Long term, gold will probably do just as well as silver, but it does take a little bit longer to get there. Okay, Mark says, what are your thoughts on that we'd be buying at record highs? So I hope I addressed that, Mark, and you get the sense that we're nowhere near where metals are headed. Even though they're moving up, you got to look at the conditions that are driving gold and silver higher right now. All of them are just getting started. None of them are falling off, and there's no sense that gold and silver are going to slow down with all that we see happening. Okay, so even though it's high, we're low compared to where it's going. You should have a lot of confidence that the market's moving and you're getting in at a good time. Laura says, if I put money or rollover IRA into gold and silver and I purchase precious metals, those metals go to the vault. At what age and time can I take possession? Okay, so yeah, great. It's just like a normal retirement account, Laura. After 59 and a half, you can pull metals out of your account or you can sell them and take out cash without a penalty. You're always going to pay taxes coming out of the account, but there is a loophole with gold and silver where you can get a great tax advantage, and I'll leave that for you to talk to one of our account executives to walk you through that. But you have access to your portfolio anytime, just like a regular IRA. After 59 and a half, no penalty to pull that money out. And you can take possession of your gold and silver. Laura says, do you sell platinum and other metals? Yes, we do. Gold, silver, platinum, palladium, although gold and silver are really where we want to focus right now in the market for the most part. And then what guaranteed purity levels of the purchased metal? So we work with all the major mints and distributors. We get these from the major government mints. Everything is, highest purity, highest standards coming directly from the mints. So you're not just buying gold from Joe Schmo down the street. That's really important. You're going with the name brand in gold and silver. And again, American Hartford Gold is the #1 gold company in the country. We're the largest precious metals dealer. You can look into our reputation and know that you're getting the right assets, high purity, high standards, directly from the mints. So I hope that answers that. And then John says, do you have a buyback program when it's time to retire? Yeah, absolutely, John, and I'm going to cover that as we go forward here, but we do have a buyback commitment to our clients, so you're never going to have to look for a way to sell your gold and silver. American Hartford Gold will always be here to buy back, make that very simple for you to get out of the dollar into gold and silver and then back into the dollar when you're ready. So keep leaving your questions. I'm going to come back to them again a little bit later. But let's talk about the how. So you know that gold and silver is something that you want. Obviously, we see the economy. We see the way the markets are moving. We want to get a hedge into precious metals. Perfect. Now, how do we actually do that? So I want to just impress upon you that we buy gold and silver for both immediacy and the long term. And I want to make that distinction there. For the long term, gold is a store of value, right? It's a hedge against inflation. It maintains its purchasing power, and it's meant to safeguard gains and against the erosion of value, right? So think of it as a protection and a hedge, kind of like wealth insurance, right? But if you're worried about where the dollar is going to go in the next 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, then it really is a must to own gold and physical assets against that devaluation. Now, on the other side of that, there's kind of the immediacy of gold, right? We're in a bull market. Gold and silver are outperforming every other traditional financial investment. They're a great investment as well as a store of value. So right now, we're very early and we're seeing this momentum. And so you have to look at gold and silver not just as the long-term store and hedge, but right now, the best investment you could possibly be in. There's a reason for that. So you think about investing into gold and silver, there's two ways that we help our clients, right? One is cash investing, and the other is retirement accounts. Now, when I say cash, I just mean anything that's outside of a qualified retirement account. And then for IRAs, it's 401ks, employer plans, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, anything in that retirement structure, we can put gold and silver in there as well. So on the cash side, I'm going to walk you through each of these, but for cash, it's very straightforward. Whether it's coming from a brokerage or an annuity or just cash that you have in the bank, you would do a wire transfer or a check over to American Hartford Gold. So we would build out a 7-digit client ID. We'll send you payment instructions that you take down to the bank, and you can write us a personal check or a cashier's check. You can do a wire transfer. Either way, we get those funds in. We'll call you up. We'll go through a full consultation. We'll get to know what's important to you as far as investment objectives, time horizons, liquidity needs, all that comes into play. And then we're going to build out a portfolio that's right for you of gold versus silver or any other metal. We ship those precious metals right to your door. It's fully insured. We cover the shipping cost, and there's no sales tax. So very nice and simple. You're going to sign for it upon delivery. We actually ship via FedEx. It's in an unmarked package. Nothing says gold or silver on the box. We don't lose gold and silver. It's fully insured. You're fully protected there. You'll sign for it, and then you can do anything you want with it. At any point in time, if you want to sell back to us, we make that very easy. We have a buyback commitment. We'll send FedEx to your home with packing material and a shipping label. You box up the metals that we've agreed upon. You send them over to us. We'll wire funds into your account by Friday. It's very straightforward to help you get back into cash. So you're not stuck with metals. Of course, you can take them to any local dealer as well or whatever you want to do, but we're always here for you on that. So that's the cash side. If you have cash that you want to get out of the dollar, get it into gold and silver, call us today at that. On the IRA side, if you have an old retirement account, so an old 401k, an old employer plan 457B, whatever it may be, or an IRA, you can put physical, tangible gold and silver into that account. And I'll walk you through that. But now if you have a current employer account, so if you're currently employed and it's a 401k or a 457 or a 403B, you have to be over 59 and a half to be able to move the money out of your current employer account to be able to put it into gold and silver. Or you have to have rolled over a previous retirement account into that current account, and then those funds should be able to be moved. So old IRA, old employer account, or current, and you're over 59 and a half. I hope that makes sense. And what we do is we open up what's called a self-directed IRA. So this is a quick application on our side. This is the type of account that allows you to hold on to physical, tangible assets rather than just paper assets like stocks, bonds, and equities, which is what you're currently in. So it's a very fast application. It takes us 5 minutes. We do it with you on the phone. We send it over to you for a signature via DocuSign. Once we get that back in, we schedule a custodial call with our back office. So we have an entire department dedicated to helping you move your money. We're going to do all the heavy lifting. So we call over to your current custodian. We help you liquidate, get the transfer form set up. We're going to keep our thumb on the process the entire time until the account funds for you. Now, once it funds, again, we're going to call you up. We go through a full consultation. We help you select the metals that you want, build out a portfolio, and then we ship that gold and silver to a private depository. So this is a third-party vault. It's outside of the banking system. You own that gold and silver. You can access it any time you like, but it does have to be stored for you safely and securely because it's in that retirement structure. If you were to take possession, which you can do, you can pull the gold and silver out or you can sell it and take out cash, but it would be considered a distribution on your IRA. And so to keep it tax-free and penalty-free, we roll it into that self-directed IRA and store your metals at a private depository. This is going to be about $225 a year for storage and custodial fees combined. That covers everything, and that's your only fee ongoing for that account. Now, we're going to cover the account setup and the first year of storage for you as a promotion to help you get started as painless as possible, okay? And then again, if you ever want to sell back to us, yes, we can buy back and put cash into your account. You can move into another IRA. You can buy stocks, whatever you want to do. But this is just about protecting those retirement accounts. And the vast majority of our clients have most of their net worth tied up in old 401ks or IRAs. They're concerned about where the economy's headed, and they want to get that risk off the table. So having a self-directed gold IRA is a perfect way to get a hedge against the current economy and market. So if you're ready to get started on either of those two ways, call us right now, 866-607-2447. We'll help you get started. It's just a simple 3-step process for each one of those. Okay, very painless. Now, why American Hartford Gold? And then I'm going to get back to your questions here as well. But we are the largest precious metals dealer in the U.S., okay? I would hope that because you're joining us on the webinar, you already know a little bit about us. You already have some trust and confidence in us. We're going to take great care of you. We've shipped over $4 billion worth of precious metals just over the last couple of years to clients just like you and I. Okay, we've been in business for over a decade. In that time, again, we've become the largest precious metals dealer in the U.S. Obviously, we're doing things the right way, or we wouldn't be here, and we're going to take great care of you. Now, I'd really encourage you all to visit our About Us page, or again, talk to one of our account executives. They can send you a welcome video, but it gives you a good sense of who we are. You can see our president, our CEO, you can see inside of our office, our shipping department, and really just get a good sense of the company that you're doing business with. I think that's really important that you know who you're working with. And we try to just pull back the curtain and show you everything so that you have that family relationship with us when you join us. Now, we've been an Inc. 500 award winner for the last handful of years, lots of accolades, thousands of positive reviews online, A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. And what I really want to impress upon you is we have a full service team that's dedicated to making this as smooth and as easy as possible for you to transition out of the dollar into gold and silver, and then of course back into the dollar when you're ready. So look into that, get a little bit more familiar with us, but just know that you're in very good hands with American Hartford. And then we do have some promotions that are running right now. So for every 50,000 increment that you invest with us, we have free silver. If you're at home and you want a safe, we can possibly set that up for you. So there's different promotions that we run throughout the year. And if you're interested in taking advantage of that, I would always encourage you to talk to your account executive, ask them about the promotion, see if you qualify. Chances are you're going to get some free silver sent to your home. It's just a nice perk. And again, our way of saying thank you for taking that step to protect your investments. All right, so I hope that gives you a very good sense of all this. I'm going to get back to your questions here. So as we do that, any other questions that I didn't touch on that you'd like me to, throw them in the chat. We can kind of go through that for this last section, and I hope this has been really informative for you guys. Mark says, what are your thoughts that we'll be buying at a record high? So I hit that already. Laura says, what is the guaranteed purity of the metals purchased? So again, for IRAs, everything has to be the highest purity and highest quality. So there's a variety of assets you can put into a retirement account that are qualified. There's certain things that don't qualify for an IRA. And we never expect you to become a precious metals expert overnight. You know, we do want to give you a good lay of the land, but ultimately you're leaning on American Hartford to build out a portfolio that's right for you based on our expertise of the markets, the assets, the mints, the distributors. So we're going to go through all that with you and make sure that you're really well taken care of with what you do purchase. John, buyback program, we touched on that. Do you store precious metals purchased elsewhere? So look, Mark, if you have gold and silver that you purchased on hand and you want to have them stored at a private depository and you're going to purchase through us and do another cash investment, right? We can set up a private depository on the cash side as well as the IRA side. And you can put those metals into that private depository. We can help you open up an account. Typically, if you're storing metals outside of the IRA, just a cash investment into one of these depositories, it's about 1/4 to 0.5% per year of the total value that you're storing. So, you know, fairly easy, especially in these markets when you see the growth that we have. So if you don't feel comfortable having gold and silver on hand at home, we can have it stored for you. That's easy for us to set up. What's the minimum buy-in, Deborah asked? So we have two minimums. On the cash side, it's $5,000. So anything above $5,000, we can help you. On the IRA side, the very minimum is $10,000. So anything above that. What is the free silver that we're advertising? So Ranjan, again, with that, for every $50,000 that you invest with us, we give you 1% of your order back in free silver. So for $50,000 invested, $500 of free silver that we ship right to your door. Catherine asks about ETF gold funds. This is a great distinction, Catherine. So you can buy physical gold and silver through us, or you can buy paper gold and silver through an ETF. Now, what I tell my clients is if you're looking for very quick exposure to gold and silver, you're going to just be in and out and it's a trade, go ahead and buy a paper ETF. But if you're concerned about what's going on in the economy, the markets, the dollar, you want to remove yourself from that volatility, you want physical, tangible gold and silver. They're two separate markets. You can have times where ETFs are doing nothing and the physical side of gold and silver are going like crazy. You can have other times where gold and silver on the physical side are a lot more stable and ETFs are going up and down and very volatile. And every contract or every ounce of gold that these ETFs typically hold, there's about 1,000 contracts on them. So they don't even hold enough gold to service the demands that are on them. And you get tremendous volatility and leverage. It's just two different markets entirely. So if you're just looking for a very quick in and out trade, sure, paper gold is fine, but our clients are buying gold and silver because they're concerned about where the dollar is going to head. They want to get a hedge against the market. They want out of paper assets. And again, ETFs are somebody else's responsibility, somebody else's debt, it's somebody else's kind of risk. Whereas if you own physical, tangible gold and silver, that's yours, right? Nobody else has claim to that. It's your real asset that's going to grow as the market drops and as the dollar goes down. So big distinction on why you would be looking at precious metals. I noticed you don't have prices on your website. Can we simply buy gold from you? So we're not an online store, okay? We are the largest precious metals dealer in the US, but we just don't have an online platform for you to put in a credit card and buy a couple ounces. It's because we're a full service firm. So we're going to have better pricing than anybody in the industry. If you're curious about what assets are going for or what we have, call us. We'll go through all that with you. Again, we work with all of the major government mints and distributors. We have thousands of products. So there's just no way for us to list all that online, and it's not the same business model, but we'll get you well taken care of. Always call us. We'll talk you through your options and make sure we get you well taken care of. And then Sandrine says, who are your custodian partners? So we primarily work with Equity Trust. They're the oldest and largest self-directed IRA firm in the US. Great company to work with. We have a very close relationship where we really will be that go-to and facilitate anything that you need through your self-directed IRA. But they're a great company to work with, very well-established, long-standing. There are other options out there, but that's really the easiest that we've found to work with. Cyrus says, will you transfer an ETF? Yeah, if you have funds in an ETF right now and you want to move that into physical gold and silver, again, call us right now. We'll help you do that. We have an entire back office dedicated to doing that. And then last question, and I'm going to get kind of to the close here, guys. What is the pricing fee for storage annually? Are there any other administration fees? Great question. So again, it's $225 an ounce per year for storage through your IRA, right? If that's going to be non-segregated storage, which means it's in a room with other people's gold and silver, but it's not being lent out, loaned out, leveraged. It's still yours, right? $225 per year. That covers storage and custodian and administration fees. That's it, $225 per year. If you do segregated storage, which means it's in a room all by itself, it's an extra 50 years, $275 a year. So very moderate, very easy to have your gold and silver stored. So I hope that's helpful. Look, any other questions? I'm just going to kind of wrap this up here, give you guys one more just summary of all that we've talked about. But if you do have questions, again, I can't stress it enough, call our account executives right now and just get right into that conversation. And let's actually take a step here to get you protected. And again, I just want to reiterate, there's never been a more important time than right now to own gold and silver. I'd rather sell you gold and silver now as opposed to when silver's over $150 an ounce and gold's over $5,000. We know that that trend is set. Gold and silver are moving. So if you're concerned, just take that step and actually get yourself protected. Get in now while your instincts are actually kicking in and while they're urging you to take a step. And it's interesting, again, I said that we just can't even keep up with the headlines. I've read you projections where banks have said gold's going to hit 5,000 this year, and that was their projection 2 months ago. They put out these articles, by the time I get to them a week later, gold's already above where they're projecting, metals to head to. It's just insane. So we're in a very fast moving market, and this is your chance to actually take advantage of that, right? It's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity that we have right here. So it's very rare that you see the shift in the markets where you're going to get such a momentum pushing into precious metals. And I would argue that what we're witnessing right now is even more dramatic than 2008, than 2000. We haven't even seen a financial crisis. The bubble hasn't popped in the markets. Look at what gold and silver are doing. I mean, it's just no comparison. So again, get in before we see anything actually crack or break in the market. And you're going to be very, very happy that you did, okay? This is the time to preserve your money at probably the most critical time for U.S. investors. And just a few thoughts, right? US job growth is modest and momentum is weak right now. The labor market really hasn't collapsed at all, but it's effectively at a standstill, and it shows no signs of accelerating, which means that we're most likely walking into a recession. That slowing growth, that weakening unemployment, we see that arguing for the Federal Reserve to cut more interest rates moving forward and print more money to try to stimulate the economy. So that printing of money that's going to happen, that's going to increase inflation. It'll devalue the dollar further. It's going to drive up government debt, again, decrease foreign confidence in U.S. bonds and treasuries and the dollars, and it's going to drive up the price of gold and silver significantly. So those signs are pointing to precious metals growing dramatically. And it's interesting to note that the monetary system that defined the post-World War II era, where the dollar has really reigned supreme and everyone happily held U.S. bonds, that's shifting. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but it is unmistakably happening. And so for investors, that means rethinking portfolios and not having all of your eggs in the paper basket backed by one single currency. Consider hard assets. Watch how central banks are behaving. And when the world's smartest money managers start buying gold in mass, that's worth paying attention to. And the share of gold in central bank reserves has doubled in the past 10 years to more than 25% of their holdings. So again, as a reserve asset, gold has doubled up to 25% of central bank holdings. That's the highest level we've seen in 30 years. Investors, both private and sovereign, are believing that their strategic reserves are no longer safe in dollar terms. The dollar is losing credibility as the nominal anchor of the global monetary system because the Fed is losing credibility and US Congress is losing credibility, right? So it's time for you and I to own gold and follow that smart money and get out ahead of this mess. And then furthermore, geopolitical tensions are not fading into the background. Recent flashpoints include the US actions in Venezuela and Washington's push to assert control over Greenland. They've only deepened investors' flights to gold. So we're now entering into a world where there's a strong demand to secure critical metals in this decade, not just on the individual level, but by entire governments and countries. Now that's huge. So that shift is, really going to push gold and silver dramatically higher than where we're at, and you want to get out ahead of it. Timothy Moe of Goldman Sachs sees that geopolitical risks are nearing an inflection point for markets, potentially tipping stocks into correction territory. And when you have such a large bubble, if that bubble bursts, there goes everything. Everything that we've worked so hard to build up, that whole market comes down. Gold is outside of that system. It provides real stability away from Wall Street. And then keep in mind that following a record-breaking 2025, gold and silver have entered into 2026 with momentum intact as geopolitical tensions, falling interest rates, efforts for investors and central banks to diversify away from the dollar reinforce gold's role as the world's ultimate safe haven. Wise investing ultimately is risk management, right? Gold is far outperforming the traditional markets, and there seems to be nothing but risk and uncertainty on the horizon. The dollar's plummeting, the U.S. is moving into a recession, countries are moving out of bonds and U.S. treasuries and into gold. Again, follow the countries and the banks. There's a reason that all major financial institutions are leaning on precious metals in this season. Central banks, billionaires, and history are telling us that gold is that place that we want to be right now. The bond market, the equity market, the currency market, they're far too volatile, especially for our retirement portfolios. Gold and silver is where we want to be. So as we wrap this up here, I really want to just say thank you for joining us. It's always a pleasure to be able to help you provide some education to you and help you take those steps that you're really looking to do to protect your wealth. So call us now, 866-607-2447. And we'll discuss getting started with you. Again, I'm Mackay Block with American Hartford Gold. Give us a call today. We'll discuss how adding precious metals into your portfolio can really give you the hedge that you need right now. Thank you for joining us, guys.